All right, and it looks like we are live. Welcome everybody in today to this. What I really like about this is that we're going to be talking about a really exciting course that we just released here at Attack IQ Academy. Just a way of introduction. My name is Joe Mastromarino, Director of Sales Engineering here at Attack IQ. And I am so excited to be joined by Keith Wilson. Keith, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hey, Joe. Thanks for being on with me. I'm Keith Wilson. I'm the Director of Cybersecurity Education for AttackIQ. That means that I run the AttackIQ Academy, which you may or may not be familiar with. If you're not familiar with it, it's completely free online cybersecurity training, mostly in topics that aren't covered anywhere else. And we just released our 30th free course on there. 30 courses, believe it or not, called Foundations of AI Security, which is why we're here to talk today. And based on the conversation that Joe and I had yesterday, kind of planning and preparing for this, I think he's probably the right person to moderate this call because of the excitement that he has around AI and security. And I think having you on this call today, I think you were the right pick, Joe.
I appreciate that, and I've taken many of these courses so far. This is easily the well, I'm going to say that as far as length is concerned, I can tell you put a lot of time and effort into this course, and I have learned so much from it. It really, I can say this is some hours I've put into this course, and I'm really happy that I've put in this time for it. If you like, Keith, I can just start right in with a question I have about the course, if that kind of helps you get started with talking about it.
Sure. Yeah. And I will say, yeah, Joe, you're right. This is by far our longest course we average about an hour and a half for courses. This one is almost 5 hours long. So it's a very long one. And that's why we wanted to do this. Part of the reason we wanted to do this webinar today, or this LinkedIn live stream that we're doing today, is so you can decide, is it worth my time to invest that 5 hours? I'm hoping that by the end of this, you'll say yes, but we'll see. So with that being said, yeah, Joe, what's your question?
So one thing, and we're talking about AI security, we're talking about artificial intelligence, we're talking about things that as soon as I mention those terms, it's going to start to pop up some images in people's minds. One thing that comes up frequently in the news cycles, as I hear this talked about, is usually some things with proper names that I'm sure most people are familiar with, and usually with something like a chatbot front. But this course is getting a lot deeper than just those chatbots, from my understanding. So if that's something you want to express to anybody here that's watching and listening.
Yeah, so those chatbots that we see, whether it's Google's Gemini or ChatGPT, that's what a lot of us have become familiar with over the last year since generative AI really exploded. And that's really what generative AI is. It's generating something, right? So in the case of these chatbots, they're generating text. Sometimes they can generate photos as well. But this course, it definitely goes into LLMs. We have a whole section on the OWASP LLM top 10. But there's so much more to AI than just these large language models or these generative AI chatbots, right? So there's, and we get into the different types of AI right up front in the course too, because we want you to understand what's out there or what, in the case of AI, there's a lot that isn't out there yet, right? Like there's a lot of theoretical stuff so far. I mean, currently, if we look at AI based on capability, there's 3 types. There's artificial narrow AI, general AI, and super AI. So artificial narrow AI is the one that we're used to because out of those 3, it's the only one that isn't theoretical today. And this is trained on a narrow task that it does well, but it can't work outside of that. So like image analysis for healthcare diagnostics is a good example of this, right? So these systems are trained. The data that they're trained on is to analyze these images and try and make diagnostics based on that. Now, general AI, this is again theoretical. This type of AI can understand if it did exist, or when it does exist, can understand, learn, and apply knowledge in different contexts. And it does not require training of the model by humans, which is currently what we have to do right now. And as we get into in the course, is actually introduces a little bit of a vulnerability, right? Where we have a chink in our supply chain potentially for that data to be trained inappropriately. And then there's super AI, which is also theoretical. Now, super AI should be able to think, reason, learn, make judgments, and possess the cognitive abilities of human beings. So this would be used for things like managing global crises like famine or global warming or climate change, any of that stuff, or could even be a cultural renaissance, right? Whole new forms of art, music, literature that's been generated by AI, but it has an understanding and reflection of human emotions. So those are kind of the three general categories of AI. I do want to say, as we're getting more and more people on here, our producer Madison's reminding me, if you have questions, please comment with those questions. We're happy to answer the questions as they come up. As we're gonna pick out some good ones, and we want to be able to answer these questions for you. So please feel free to comment with your questions.
Yeah, please. I love talking, and I love talking to Keith, but I want to make sure we're covering all y'all's questions as well. So please.
Yeah. So Joe, I just went over 3 types of AI based on capability.
Yeah.
But there's also AI. We can also classify it based on functionality. Now, did all the capability stuff make sense to you?
Yeah, and I mean, it certainly made sense to me as I listened to you, and also as I went through the course. Now, that was one thing that really stuck out to me as I was going through the course as well, is that there's a lot of content in here. So if someone, as you had your intention as you were building this course, if somebody were to walk away with, say, one really good nugget, so to speak, from either that course, this conversation, what somebody wants to learn out of this, what's like one thing that you really want somebody to carry forward?
AI has the power to do a lot of things that we haven't even thought of yet. This also means that there's going to be ways of attacking it that we haven't even thought of yet. So as you're taking this course, what I want you to realize or remember is this is just the beginning, right? This is, there's certain points as technologists that we see throughout history, right? When we saw the internet become public, I'd even say when we saw dial-up switch to broadband, right? When smartphones became popular, with the advent of social media, right? There's always these big technological booms or events, and AI is a big one. I mean, this is pivoting the way that we program computer, software, the way that we use computers, the way that we do things and analyze data. And so much of this is going to change and is already changing. So I want people to keep in mind that this is just the beginning. And I even feel like with the course being as long as it is, it's still not enough time to cover everything that exists right now.
Yeah. And as you're thinking about that as well, there are parts of this course where you start to talk about securing AI systems. I got a twofold question here. I got one is how much of securing AI resources differs from what we have today. And something that as we were talking really kind of came up into my mind is you talk about how we were really at the I'm not going to say we're at the dawn of this boom, but really we're kind of in the middle of it right now. Is do we have enough time to be able to secure these systems, or are we kind of in danger of letting them get away from us?
So let's start with the first half of that question, and that's how does it differ or how does securing these AI systems differ than traditional systems, if I understand the question correctly? So let's start with, there are some similarities, right? You have to have good foundational cyber to protect your AI instance and your AI setup anyway. So if you have good cyber practices, that's already a good foundation. there's also a lot of potential for supply chain attacks, as we see in traditional security, traditional cyber. There's a lot of ways that data can be poisoned or the model can be poisoned. And it's different with these. And Joe and I, this was part of our conversation yesterday. The difference with LLMs, or not LLMs necessarily, but just models, so AI models and the data they're trained with, is you can poison or mess with either one of those, and it's very difficult to detect.
Yeah.
And it can have a lot of harm, right? So one thing that we don't consider in cybersecurity really is bias, right? We don't ever think about bias when we're trying to figure out what firewall policy to apply. We don't think about bias when we're writing DLP policy. We don't think about bias when we're writing detection analytics, right? Bias doesn't come into account because it just doesn't fit anywhere in there. There's really not much of a problem with it. But with AI, bias is a huge problem because it can skew the data that AI gives you. And it can be something as little as giving you a factually incorrect answer, like you should put glue on pizza, right? Like I think that was the big thing over the weekend. To something that, say if it's used in like a predictive policing model, right? That could disenfranchise entire communities and send large groups of people unfairly to jail, more so than other groups, right? So we introduce this whole new risk of bias and impact on humanity and the system. What we do with LLMs can vary so much. And we see in traditional security large impacts to our actual world. Usually I'd say in like the ICM space, there's sometimes, or not sometimes, there's loss of data, right? There's been plenty of times where we've seen loss of data in a traditional cyber attack. But there's not many times where we see physical harm or entire communities get disenfranchised or affected or impacted by an event like that, right? So it's just something. And with AI, it has the ability to perpetuate itself if you don't catch it, right? So say I poison a model and that model keeps getting trained and retrained all over, and my poisoning is just deep within that, right? If I haven't restarted the model from scratch, or if I haven't examined my training data, there's lots of potential for long-term impact through AI. Plus, just the ways we're accessing it are different, right? I don't necessarily have to write code to cause an exploit to happen. I may just be able to use my words to trick a system into doing something through natural language, right? And I think just as AI has the ability to scale our effectiveness in the workplace, it does the same for our adversaries and for our attackers. Think about the phishing campaigns you can run at scale with artificial intelligence, right? I can not only have it generate and design the campaign for me, but I can have it monitor the campaign and start running experiments to see what works better, right? Yeah. What phishing email generates the most clicks and generates the most results. So there's a whole lot of that. And then to toss on top of everything else, now we're in the world of unknown unknowns. How do you secure something that you don't even know exists, right? How do you fix a problem that you don't know is occurring? And we're going to see that in AI as we all learn together. There's a lot around that. So security, is different around that in those aspects. What was the second half of the question? Because I went on a little long with that answer.
It was a great answer, and I'll have other questions that come off the back of that as well. But the second part of that question was a little bit about the timing of this. Have we gotten to the point that, are we at the right point to really be securing these systems, or is it getting away from us a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we're at the right point, right? Even if it was getting away from us a little bit, I'm not going to sit here and say we shouldn't start, right? That'd be silly to be like, well, it's too late now. Horse is out of the gate, so we can't do anything about it. No, now's a great time to start, and we're seeing it not only in the industry, right, where we're seeing more adoption and acknowledgement of AI being a thing and being a security threat. We're also seeing it from governments, not just the United States government, but others as well. So, I mean, you have new legislation, new recommendations, new frameworks, new thoughts, new ideas. All of this new stuff in security for AI is exploding just like AI was a year or two ago.
Yeah. No, that's great. And another thing that comes up is, and really just a comment about something you said earlier, which is yes, you can build these great phishing campaigns. You can build other things as well. You could build binaries that are able to bypass algorithms. You talk about that in the course. We have enough trouble getting people to recognize anomalies in normal looking Windows event logs, normal looking network traffic. How much more difficult is it going to be when we're able to use those models to generate noise that looks like noise? And then you won't be able to identify the signal, or it's that much more difficult to do so. So yeah, this is going to make our lives a lot more interesting, I would say.
Yeah, and that's a great point too. You know, I forget where we're going with that. We got I saw a question pop up and got distracted on here. So
let me start getting into these questions then. So one question we have is, can we share any case studies where OWASP guidelines have successfully mitigated AI security risks?
So probably the largest problem I had in creating this course, because I like to I like to be able to provide examples and use cases and any sort of cool stories I can in these courses, just to make it more real. It's one of the problems with AI and AI security, though, is because it's so new, there's not a ton of case studies out there. Where I found case studies, and I don't have any off the top of my head, unfortunately, we do talk about them in the class, wasn't necessarily in OWASP, but was in the Atlas framework. So within the Atlas framework, they would provide references to to use cases that have actually happened, and I touch on some of those in the class, right? To where they talk about, it's almost the opposite of what you're asking, because we're talking about mitigations when we talk about from the OWASP point of view. We're not necessarily talking about that from the Atlas point of view, although they do provide mitigations in that. In Atlas, they're providing the adversary behavior. So, and even within that, there's not a ton of, well, there was this type of attack on AI and it was thwarted by this. There's a lot of researchers that did something or were able to do something, and it was not mitigated. And that's what gets published. But yeah, AI and AI security are still just, I feel like, too new right now to get those stories published. And I don't know if you remember this, but years ago in security, it was hard for us to get use cases like that just in general security, right? Just because people are very private about what happens, and AI is even more so that, because it's new. But there's not as many people that have deployed necessarily an AI type system, like a custom AI type system that they own within their business that they're responsible for securing. Just so we don't have a ton of those stories out there just yet.
So it sounds like keep doing it and stay tuned.
Yeah,
because we're sure it'll come out at some point.
Yeah.
Next question that we have is, and I think I know the answer to this one, but I want your take on it. When if you have different training data, can the same model deliver different results? So same model, two different sets of training data. Now, I'm thinking this is going to give you different answers, even though it's the same. Even though it's the same model, you just have it trained differently. So, is that your perspective as well?
Absolutely. So let's think of it this way. And there's actually two different Atlas techniques, right? There's one where you can poison the model, and there's one where you can poison the training data.
Right.
So let's just simplify this and say our model is Joe's brain, right? So Joe, your brain is our model. Now, the data that I'm going to give you is factual, right?
Okay.
And that's the sky is blue. Okay. So from now on, if somebody asks you what color is the sky, your response is
blue.
Right. Okay. So now I'm going to leave the same model, Joe's brain, intact. I'm not going to touch your brain, Joe, but I am going to change the training data. Joe, this color of the sky is red. Okay. So that's what you're trained with now. Joe, what color is the sky?
It's red.
Yeah. See, so poisoning the model, the same model with different data is essentially what I just illustrated right there. I just kind of took it out of the tech concepts. Is definitely going to affect the results. You can mess with either one. It's really a twofold thing, right? And that's why you have to not only guard your model and be protective of your model, but also the data that you use. Great question.
Yeah. Next one, can you share any experiences with Purple Llama or Llama Guard?
Purple Llama or Llama Guard?
Not one I'm familiar with. I don't know if you are.
No, I can't because I haven't used it. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten too far into these defensive tools just yet. The way that I tend to do courses for Academy, and I know this is probably a deeper answer than you wanted, and not necessarily right on about Llama Guard, but the way that we build courses for Academy is we will tend to do a foundational course, usually a foundational course, but maybe just a course on a subject that's new to us, like AI. And then we see what the response is, and we go from there on developing courses, right? Is it interesting? Are people, is it something that people actually need? Is it something that people actually use? So far, that's proving to be true with this Foundations of AI course, which if it continues to prove to be true, then there's going to be follow-up courses, and it'll be, using tools like Llama Guard or other actual hands-on things, right, where we can get more technical with the models and things like that. But as of right now, no, I don't have any personal experience on Llama Guard or any of the particular tools.
Okay. And I'm going to skip back to something that you mentioned a couple of these earlier. I'm curious about how long these things have been in existence. The OWASP framework and the Atlas framework for securing AI, how long have those been around?
So those are pretty new. Atlas, I got a fairly definitive answer for. It's been around since 2021. Mm-hmm. There's two different OWASP projects. So there's an OWASP LLM top 10. So top 10 specifically for large language models and AI. And then there's an OWASP machine learning top 10, which is for AI and machine learning in general. Now, I couldn't find anywhere on their sites or anywhere definitive like that said, these things started at this time. And I know some folks, or I've had conversations with some folks that have worked on things like OWASP LLM. So maybe I'll circle back and ask them because I am kind of curious. But what I was able to find was that the GitHub repo for both of those lists was initialized in 2023, which makes sense. Like all of this stuff is very new. Mm-hmm. And so all of these things are still being developed. I'm not much of a technology historian, but those are what I found in terms of dates.
Fair enough. And following right along that same line, we talked about just now Llama Guard, and you start talking about some of the other GitHub repos and things like that and other resources. If somebody wants to be able to, especially after they take this course, they want to get some more hands-on technical experience, are there any resources that you would recommend after somebody finishes this course?
Yeah. So again, AI is pretty new. So you can, if you want to check out the Hugging Face repo that we mentioned in the course, and you don't necessarily have to do anything with it, but explore around, see what's out there in terms of models. And I think they put training data out there as well. In fact, I haven't had as much time to spend on Hugging Face as I'd like to really dive into it. So maybe I'll take my own advice and go back into that. Another good learning site for AI, not necessarily AI security. They may have something on security there, but just AI in general, because, to secure something in traditional security, it's always helped us to understand about how those things operate, understanding how TCP/IP works, the OSI model, three-way handshake, all those sort of basics really help you understand security. So if you're looking to understand more about how AI works and about how that process is, there's a site called deeplearning.ai. And I believe their courses on there are free. The one that I took on there was free. But they've got some good learning as well. And I think realistically, unless you work at a large company, your experience with securing AI is going to be fairly limited to probably maybe some APIs, right? Maybe you have programmers that are integrating with somebody else's model and somebody else's data, like ChatGPT, right? Maybe they're using APIs from that. You're going to be spending more time being responsible for that than you are securing a model. But eventually, I think we're going to see more of this, especially in larger and larger companies. They're going to want to own their own model with their own data that can be, especially if we're talking sensitive business subjects. So now's the time to start practicing, right? Before you get into those big systems. And the way to do it is just get your hands dirty with, sites like Deep Learning and repositories like Hugging Face.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it. Is let's get our reps in now. This way we know what it is we're going to be doing once we're really faced with it. If I could bring it back to a kind of an opinion piece as well, is that you were obviously doing a whole lot of research for this course. Was there one moment where you just went, "Oh man, wow, that could really happen," and I really do not want to see that happen? Was there any moment like that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's really when the pieces started connecting between, here are the types of AI, particularly the theoretical AI types. Those are where it starts getting scary. Like self-aware AI, that's where we start, that's when we start thinking about movies and about AI taking over the world, right? That's when thoughts of iRobot come to us. But truly, if we think about self-aware AI, say we make those AI robots the police, we poison their training set, or military. Let's militarize them even more, and we poison their training set. How do you stop that? How do you stop an entire military from turning on a country, right? Or what if they decide at that point, because they're self-aware, that they're just going to continue on, right? That's the best. And people have already talked about it, have talked about AI being an existential crisis for the world for probably decades now. Before AI was, probably when it was just a thought and theoretical, people were talking about how this thing could destroy the world. And it really can. I've even written articles, people worry about cryptography being quantum proof. Well, what if I don't even need quantum computing and I just have an AI algorithm that can break every single password in existence?
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of scary there. And I think the scariest part of that is it's all unknown, right? It's unknown what's going to happen in the future. It's unknown what security is going to look like. But there's a lot of sort of safety rails that are being put in place now through training, through legislation, through guidance, through experts coming together and discussing things that is certainly going to help us stay secure as we go into the future. Joe, before we come up on the end here,
yeah.
I want to make a little bit of an announcement here as the guy that kind of runs Academy.
Please.
And I say that humbly. Runs, I should put in quote. I have so many people that help me with AttackIQ Academy. We just hit a big milestone, huge milestone. 60,000 students worldwide.
60,000. Let's go.
60,000 students worldwide. And to celebrate that, we're giving away a Rabbit R1 AI device. I don't know if you've seen these things yet, but there's several different companies working on replacing the smartphone with AI. This is one of them. So this is a device that we're giving away. The way that you can win one of these now, unfortunately, this is only open to folks within the United States. You have to be within the United States to win this. But the way to win is you have to take the Foundations of AI Security course on Academy. So if you go to academy.attackiq.com, register for free if you're not registered. If you're already registered, go in there, click on and sign up for our latest class, Foundations of AI Security. Complete the course, and then comment on the LinkedIn post that it's either up now or it's going to be up real shortly after this live session. So you want to make sure you take the AI course, take the Foundations of AI Security course, and then you comment on the LinkedIn post, and you will be you have the opportunity to be a winner of this Rabbit R1 device. So exciting giveaway for an exciting moment with Academy that has a little bit to do with AI. we chose this this giveaway specifically. So thanks for letting me announce that. I'm very proud of what we've done, and I can't wait to bring in another 60,000.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we absolutely love all the stuff you put out, Keith. That proof's in the pudding. I keep taking these courses, and I'm a big fan of them. And they don't pay me to say that. So, so no, I really do appreciate all of your time as you went through this, obviously making this course, putting it out, talking to us about it, all of the other things that you do for Academy. And really, we do this for the community so that everyone can really come in and learn more with us. And we're always excited to do that. I don't see any other questions that are coming in the chat. So, I mean, Keith, do you have any other parting words before we call it for today?
No, just, thanks everybody for hopping on. AI security is new, so let's learn about it together. And I look forward to seeing you in more classes on academy.attackiq.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Keith, and thank you everybody for joining us today. Everybody have a great day, and definitely join the AttackIQ Academy.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.